Hi and welcome. Um, you know what? Today I've got a dynamic young man with me, Mr. Michael Smith.
Thank you.
And Mr. Smith, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, we only talk to people who know what the hell they're talking about. And I don't waste time talking to people who don't. So today I brought another guest who knows what he's talking about. So if you're interested in finding funds for your business, you might want to make sure you pay real close attention. Now, before we introduce Mr. Michael Smith, what I'm going to do, cousin, bring up this website so people can know where to go for some information. Mr. Smith is with, of course, the First Federal Bank. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of tabs that you can go to find out exactly how they can help you in your pursuance of course, getting financial assistance. So I'm not going to take a lot of time going over everything that's on the web. I'm just going to ask Mr. Michael to go ahead on and tell us about himself and then tell us about what it is that they do at that First Federal Bank. So, cousin, bring us up in the two shot, sir. So, Mr. Michael, as we've already seen briefly the website and the name of the business, tell us about you and what role you play in providing services to small businesses.
Yes, sir. So, I appreciate you having me here today, Daryl, and I'm glad to present a little bit about First Federal Bank and SBA lending. But my name is Michael Smith. I'm an SBA loan officer with First Federal Bank. First Federal Bank is based out of Lake City, Florida. We're around $4 billion in assets. We have branch locations around North Florida and then Beaufort area right there. And I'm fortunate enough to kind of work from home. So I've got the remote work. And my focus is SBA loans. So I do 7A and 504 and a little bit of USDA loans as well. So primarily our focus is more 7A, 504. And usually, if someone is, wanting to go SBA, there's kind of a reason, either if it's a startup or if it's, a newer business, or if there's a equity injection where they can only have, 10% down payment, and that's all they have. We can go 25 years on real estate, business acquisitions 10 years, equipment 10 years. So you do have longer amortization out there, and for existing businesses that were impacted, heavily during COVID, obviously you see the cash flow from 2021 numbers really down. So we can do projection-based deals, and we're helping out a lot of small businesses. And, it's a great program. It's definitely one of those that if people get a bad name on SBA. It does take time. It is they do have a lot of fees, and it is kind of a long process. But I think once you inform the customer and borrower up front on meeting their expectations and trying to push through and deliver them on exceptional service, then you can definitely do a good job. So.
Okay, so let's digress for a minute here, Mike. Tell us about you, how you got into the banking business and how long you've been in the banking business thus far.
Yes, sir. So I grew up in Macon, Georgia, and I went to school in Valdosta State University and graduated in 2006 and ended up moving to Charleston like everybody else.
Right,
and,
the great state of Charleston.
Yes,
okay.
So it's definitely was a hard time finding a job, but ended up landing a job at Regions in 2007, and started as basically the ground up. So it was a teller in 2007, and kind of worked with several different banks along the way, mainly on kind of the retail side of banking, and then most recently, 2 years right before COVID, March 2020 was when I started working in SBA banking with First Federal Bank. So it's definitely a interesting time to get with SBA banking, especially with COVID and the PPP and the economic disaster loans out there. So it was fun times, but you learn quick, and there's a lot of specials they had out there. So we managed to stay busy and still busy. So it's definitely good programs out there.
Okay. Now, For people like me that don't know what SBA stands for, please explain that to us. What is SBA?
So SBA is Small Business Administration.
Okay.
So it's for any small businesses that either if they're a startup or if they can't get conventional financing. Obviously, you have the SBA to where that they can have these loan programs to where the SBA will guarantee a portion of the loan balance, and then that kind of leaves the bank, minimizes their risk right there, but it also kind of entices them to go out there and make loans. So most of the times what your small businesses are. I mean, obviously, we have to do eligibility for the SBA to make sure that they qualify from a business standpoint, but also from a personal liquidity standpoint too as well.
Okay. Now, walk me through this. I'm about to start a frog farm, right? Now, what would be the process I need to go through to get to you? What would that be?
I can give you obviously my business card, so you'll have my contact information. But,
Okay.
Once we have an initial point of contact, what I usually do is kind of let my borrowers know kind of the expectations up front of what all we can do. Depending on if you're a new business or looking for expansion, we obviously need a business plan.
Okay.
Would need projections and strong consumption. So a lot of times we use the South Carolina Business Development Centers over there. Paul
SBDC, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So they do a great job, and we've used them a lot for deals, and so once we get started, but then our application process as far as that, it usually is 3 years personal returns, 3 years business returns, and any affiliates where you have 20% more ownership, personal financial statement, business debt schedule, and all that stuff. So it's definitely a full package, but once we get the package, we can start vetting the deal and pulling credit, running reports, doing the cash flow right there. So.
Oh my goodness! All right, so let me see if I've got this here. Okay, now I'm in the process of starting this toad farm, right? So what I probably would need to do is go talk to the fine folks at the Small Business Development Center, my friends up there on Rivers Avenue, and what they're going to do is help me with a biz plan. And the biz plan will, among all of the portions, contain the financial plans. And from the financial plans, now I'm going to go to initially a bank. And the bank is going to say, well, at this point, young man, we're not really ready to, and we can't finance you. So then I go back to the SBDC guys and say, hey, I went to X bank and they said at this point they cannot finance me. What else can I do? And they said, well, you know what? I know this gentleman named Mike, and he's at First Federal, and he has some loan programs under the Small Business Administration. And then that's when you come in, and as you said previous, looking at the different financial statements from the individual to determine if you, in fact, can help them. Now, you talked about two types of loans, the 7 and the 5. What is the 7? What is the 5? And what is the difference between the two?
So you have so it's just the standard 7A. So what we have, the SBA offers SBA Express, which is, loans that are underneath $350,000. They just recently increased that to $500,000. We don't offer the SBA Express lending. Kind of mid-size tiered banks do, but we offer the standard 7A term loan right there. And so the way the 7A is, it's got a 75% guarantee. So mainly if the SBA is guaranteeing 75%, the bank is risking the 25% right there.
Okay.
And so it's definitely a great program. But like, let's say if you're buying the toad farm and you're doing a construction deal where you're buying the land, you're doing the construction and the firm all together, but you also need to buy inventory. You also need to buy some other equipment, and you also need to buy and get some working capital for future expenses and some other soft cost use. So that's what we would combine all those into one, and depending on obviously if the land and the commercial real estate is about more of 51% that we can go kind of the 25 years term right
Okay.
there. So it's combining everything into one. So it is great that you have that, but obviously with 7As, there's a lot more risk. We do have variable rates. We do have some fixed rate options too right there. And obviously it does have a guarantee fee that you would get financing right there. So I mean, it does cost to do business, but it is a great program. And obviously if you can't find conventional financing or find a commercial bank. And then the 504 loan is a loan program that it's a great program, but only focuses on just hard assets. So it's commercial real estate, either if it's construction, renovation, or purchase of commercial real estate, and then heavy equipment right there. So it has to have kind of those two factors in order to be a 504 loan. But the 504 loan, the way it works is you're looking at a project cost. And the bank will do 50% of the project. So let's say if it's $1 million, you have the bank going $500,000 in the project right there. And then what we do is we partner with a certified development corporation, and they're a nonprofit that's backed by the SBA right there. So it's a partnership loan, and they'll guarantee they can go up to 40% of that. And so they're doing the $400,000 while the borrower is doing $100,000 equity injection. So for the $1 million project cost right there. So it's two different loans, two different rates, two different closings, but you have the one blended rate, obviously long term right there, and with the 10 to 15% equity injection right there that requires, it helps out a lot of borrowers right there.
Okay, so to make sure I'm kind of on the same page here, the 7 Series sounds more like for somebody that's just starting a business because it's very inclusive of a lot of different things.
Correct.
And then the 5 sounds like I'm already in business, but I need to expand my business. Would that be kind of like what we have between a 7 and a 5?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, obviously with the 504, you got to be in business at least 2 years to qualify.
Okay.
And the 7A is used for a lot of startups. But yeah, I mean, it's usually we see you do a lot of deals for leasehold improvements. They're buying equipment. They need working capital inventory, and just combine all that together. So we do see a lot of that, which is good. I mean, but if it's just strictly real estate, or if you're buying heavy equipment, then obviously 504 is a better way to go with a long-term fixed rate right there.
Okay. So tell us some more about what you do in aiding small businesses. I mean, I know you review financial statements and you also process whatever paperwork or assist in that endeavor. But what else is it that you do for small businesses that helps them?
Well, I mean, as far as, it's more of a, I wouldn't say hand-holding, but it's a lot of coaching involved.
Okay. Wonderful.
And more is, I would say, advising.
Okay.
The borrower of, obviously you have to walk through the steps. And, if you're a new business owner, you got to get familiar with the SBDC and the business plan and what all that needs to be. And, they have workshops, and they also have for the projection kind of line item to kind of break down on the assumptions part right there. And then, obviously if they got to go create the LLC, register with Secretary of State, articles, all that stuff.
All that business stuff.
Yes, that goes into it that we can, before we can really start vetting a deal.
Okay.
So, there's a lot that goes into it, but yeah, it's just really a lot of, I would say, coaching and kind of getting them on the best practices and kind of go through it. So.
Well, tell me, during COVID, did you see a increase, stable, or decrease in people starting businesses and coming for loans?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, the SBA, during that time, they passed, the CARES Act along with the PPP. They had to where they were doing 6 months of payments on SBA loans, 7A and 504 loans, and then they're waiving the no guarantee fee, and they were doing on the 7A 90% guarantee. So obviously, it was kind of enticement for banks to go out there and lend, and a lot of banks were the uncertainty with a lot of industries, especially hospitality and hotels and restaurants. that were heavily impacted by COVID. They
Right.
just didn't want to go out there and spend money. And it's yes, I mean, we did see some creative startups right there. Obviously, for our appetite, if it's a startup, one, obviously we want to see if they got some personal liquidity. They've got to have industry experience, and when they're starting up, and at least some hard collateral that they can pledge, in order for us to kind of go forward with it. We do have minimums of 350,000 is kind of the smallest that we look at
Okay.
for loans because of the time it takes.
Right. Right.
It
right.
does take usually 7A loans are around obviously best would be 60 days to 75 days, and 504 loans are around 75 to 90 days. So
Oh,
it does take a lot of time, but it just really depends on when we receive all the package and start betting and everything like that. So,
okay.
but I think that you would see a lot more existing businesses going towards SBA, obviously because of the numbers in 2021.
Right.
From a cash flow perspective, debt service coverage, they might not cash flow those years, but obviously we could do projection-based deals, and you just show the underwriter from a historical standpoint that they have serviced the debt. It's just COVID was down those 2 years, so it's just really going out there and trying to paint a picture for the bar to get them approved, and just kind of going from there. But we have seen a lot of that, a lot of refinances. Obviously, if the rates go up, prime just went up 0.25%. Will continue to go up, and it's just interesting times. So it's definitely we're seeing some refis for lock it in long-term rates, and then we're seeing a lot of business acquisitions too.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
it's just a lot of kind of a new money coming down here from outside Charleston want to buy a business that they have industry experience in.
Okay. Well, Mike, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes. Tell us anything that you want the small business community to know about you and about how First Federal Bank is helping them.
Oh, no, I mean, if you have any questions at all about, either, starting a business or currently operating a business, if you had any questions about finances or marketing or anything, definitely, reach out to us. The SBDC is a great source that we use a lot to kind of bounce some ideas off of. And then now was the LDC, now Prime Fund. We use them a lot of something that, that we can't do and it's below kind of our threshold. We'll send it to them as well. So definitely we're out here to help business owners and help them grow and make sure their business is successful. So, but I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Hey man, I mean, if you hadn't sent me that $100, of course, I wasn't going to invite you. There's $100 fee.
I thought I got paid.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, we'll talk about that offset. Michael, how do they get in touch with you?
The best is probably by email. My email is smithm@ffbf.com. That's smithm@ffbf.com. Or you can call me on my cell phone. It's 843-830-9856.
Okay, you said that you work out of your home. So how and where do you usually meet with clients?
It's the new age a lot. I mean, obviously, if they're local, I'll meet them in person or rather too. Either at their office or a coffee shop.
Okay.
But nowadays, most people can do Zoom.
Okay.
And it's more flexible for everybody's schedule. But a lot of times, I mean, obviously, the personal touch, you kind of want to first time meeting someone is kind of face to face.
Okay. Email and phone number again before we let you go.
The email address is smithm@ffbf.com, and my phone number is 843-830-9856.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I proved the point that we only talk to people who know what the hell they're talking about. As you can tell, Mike knows a little something, something. If you need to have the funds, please, by all means, contact Mike at First Federal, and they will hook you up. But your paperwork got to be right. If it ain't right, you ain't going to get the money. So don't blame anybody but yourself, because he already told you the avenue to take. You start with the SBDC, get the business plan, go to the bank, rejected by the bank, contact him, and he will work that magic as best he can. So on that note, cousin, go ahead on and Take us out of here.